What is up, guys? We're back with another video. Today I just wanted to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S10e and why I think it's my favorite pick for a value smartphone. As you guys know, I made this video a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago, and my number one pick was the LG G8. I still think this is still one of the best older flagships that you can get, hands down. For the price right now, it's still 200 bucks. This one is also 200 bucks as well, but as we know, with LG leaving the smartphone market, and if you guys want this wallpaper, it's Galaxy S10 wallpapers. That's where I get all the wallpapers for this specific phone. But yeah, so the S10e has been crazy. So the one thing that it's got over the G8 is that, you know, obviously LG is leaving the smartphone market or whatever, but this phone has been consistently getting updates since I got it months and months ago. And I think I had this phone for almost a year. I broke the first one and then I got this one. But if we look at the security patches, that's what I've been paying attention to. Samsung has, because I never use Samsung devices as my main device. I haven't in a while. But as you can see, the last security patch I got was like May 1st. And it's been consistently getting security patches and updates. Yeah, May 1st, 2021. I've been extremely impressed with how Samsung is still updating their devices. And I'm not talking about every once in a while. They're frequently updating their devices. It got Android 11 in a pretty timely fashion as well. This phone is running Android 11. And yeah, that was what I was most impressed about with Samsung. So I was really happy with that. So with that being said, you know, if you go on Amazon right now, the reason why I have this at my top of the list for anybody that wants the best phone for the money right now as far as price to spec ratio, as you can see, 205 right now, the same version I always get. I always get them from Amazon refurbished, and yeah, 200 bucks right now, and to me that is insane for the price to spec ratio. There's no phone, and I look at a ton of budget phones, there's no phone that's gonna match the S10e as far as the price to spec ratio. So you're getting pretty much still a flagship phone for 200 bucks. And this is why I think channels like my channel and other budget channels are necessary, because a lot of people don't actually know that, you know, you could pay the same amount of money and then get a way better phone. It's actually pretty crazy. I think for hardware, still the S10e still looks really good. It also is a full premium design, so we still have a glass and metal design here. We have our fingerprint scanner, we do have face unlock, and the fingerprint scanner is built into the power button. I love that placement, and it feels extremely solid. And also, it is a compact phone. Anybody with a small hand that hates like the strain of using phones that are, you know, 6.8 inches, 6.4 inches even, this phone, it has always been extremely comfortable doing anything, whether you're gaming, browsing the web. It just feels really great, and it's got all of the bells and whistles, IP68, dust and water resistant. The stereo speakers are on here, very loud as well. They sound great, especially when you're playing music. And also, what this phone has is a headphone jack. So a lot of phones, you know, are taking headphone jacks out. You know, this phone still has it, and the audio quality sounds great. So also with the S10e, we have a beautiful display on here. If you haven't noticed, it is a 5.8 inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's HDR10 plus 1080p 438 for the PPI. So it is a very nice display. You can see you got a punch hole, which I love having fun with this punch hole. You can, you know, put certain wallpapers up here to sort of make it, you know, just a fun experience, I guess. But yeah, this phone runs everything like a breeze. As far as like your Geekbench scores in 2021, the last time I ran it, we were getting a score of 734, and then you can see 2451, Android 11. So this phone still is very fast, running the full version of One UI here. Well, with everything, your Samsung Edge, everything you do on this phone is still relatively fast. So I've never had like any hiccups that I felt like were making the phone unusable. It still has the Snapdragon 855 chipset on here, so you are getting pretty much flagship quality gaming experience as well. If you check you know, the gaming experience out, you can see that it's pretty much keeping up As far as FPS with a lot of phones, Adreno 640 GPU, micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 6 gigs of RAM on this phone. So it keeps up as far as gaming performance. It is definitely a really fast phone still. To me, I think the highlight with the S10e for $200 is the cameras. I personally think that the S10e's cameras are better than the G8's cameras, depending on the type of photos you take, or if you care about, it's not the type of photos, but depending on the image processing. So this phone does seem to oversaturate certain colors like greens and stuff like that. It does make things seem more lifelike, but to me, that is Samsung's sort of like, that's their sort of image processing that they run with. So that's why I've even noticed that in some of their flagship phones, how everything sort of seems a little bit more lifelike, excuse me. And the cameras on here are pretty good. You just have a dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel standard and a 16 megapixel ultra wide. You have 4K video, also a 10 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 4K as well. I'll show you the video at the end, but as you can see from these stills here, you're getting great detail with this phone, and really good dynamic range. The ultra wide takes really good shots. I think color comes out really solid on this phone as well. And also, if you don't like that sort of oversaturated look, you can always edit the photos, in the Samsung, photo application. But also, it does a decent job. I'm not gonna say amazing job in low light. I think it does a decent job. You can still capture a fairly decent amount of detail. The selfie camera is fine. I do like skin tones. They're not super, like makes you really white it out like a lot of phones. But yeah, so I just really like the cameras on here. I think they're extremely solid, and I think video is also really solid as well. And remember guys, when I was talking about this phone has all the bells and whistles, it actually really does. And remember, $200, and you can see reverse wireless or wireless power sharing. So let's say I got like a V60, I got a little bit of juice, so just pop it on here, any phone that's compatible wireless charging, and then boom, this phone will actually start charging from here. As you can see that charging indicator on. So that is really cool as well. And then you have all the other little stuff in the software. So I think One UI has definitely come a long way. You do have your secure folders on here, which is really nice. All your little stuff, Dolby Atmos, screen recording is on here. You also have your Samsung desktop support as well, which is really nice. If you want to plug this up and get a desktop experience on a bigger display, you have that option, and that's really nice. There's a kids mode on here. It has all those little bells and whistles, and it does it in a very efficient and fast way. I can't stress that enough for this phone. So also another thing that I wanted to touch on was, are there any negatives with the phone? Is there anything you don't like about this phone? So I'm not going to say anything about high refresh rate, because honestly, to your average person, what I've noticed just, letting people play with phones with high refresh rate and those that don't, you have to actually kind of be into phones to really care about that. Some people are like, oh, okay, it's a little smoother. It's not a huge deal. So you have to actually be like, really into specs and stuff. What I do notice with this phone is that it doesn't have the best battery life. So you have a 3,100 milliamp battery, and it charges kind of slow at 15 watts. I think that's kind of slow even for when the phone was released in 2019. I feel like it should have been at least 25 watts at that time. But yeah, so it charges a little bit slow, and then you do have wireless charging on here, but your battery life is like around 6 hours, which I think 6 hours should be about a day's battery life for your average person. But that's the main complaint I see with people talking about with this phone, is that battery life is just not that great. So you're probably, if you're a heavier user, you're probably averaging around 5 or 6 hours of screen on time. But you got to remember, it is a compact phone, so there has to be some sort of compromise. And I think that's why Samsung kind of got away from the smaller phone, because if you look at the iPhone SE, not the SE, but the iPhone 12 mini, and you look at this phone, they never made an actual successor to the S10e. So that was one thing that I noticed, and I think because the main complaint was battery life. And you got to remember, people are on their phones constantly these days. So it is what it is. I really like the compact design. I think it's really good for people who have smaller hands, who don't want you don't want a big phone. You just don't want to, you might travel a lot and you just don't want to be chugging around a massive phone. So yeah, I do get the market for it. I think it's still necessary even for today. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Samsung Galaxy S10e? I think it's a pretty solid phone. So, you know, that's my thoughts on it. Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.